Good morning, Mets fans, and happy Friday. Welcome to Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and if anyone thinks they know what's going to happen next, oh, there goes my hat. If anyone thinks they know what's going to happen next with Brodie Van Wagenen and the Mets this offseason, they're lying to you. Because yesterday the Mets made a surprising signing, and I'm going to talk about it today on the show. It's especially fitting that the Mets signed Jed Lowrie yesterday, surprising pretty much everyone, including the beat writers and everybody else who've been completely wrong about what the Mets are going to do next. And the reason I'm so happy about this is that it sort of follows what I said 2 days ago on this very show, where I said we don't know what's going on, what they have to spend, what they don't have to spend, who they're looking at. And I think it was Andy Martino that tweeted it, and maybe it was someone else, but I think it was Martino, and he said, you know, Brodie really does run a tight ship because we didn't hear about this. There was no mention at all about Jed Lowrie. None. Zero. And then all of a sudden, he's inked to a 2-year, $20 million contract. It's refreshing, and it's different, and it's very not Mets to not have everything being leaked, 2 weeks before it even happens. And this is just another example of it. So Brodie's running a tight ship, and I'll reiterate what I said 2 days ago. No one knows what's going to happen next, so let's just let the journey finish and then decide how it was when it's over. And this is a perfect example. So let's talk about this signing. It's a surprising signing. I don't think it's a bad signing by any means, and I'll talk about why in a second. But the reason it's surprising is because it seems like infield is probably number 3 on the list of areas of need, if not even further behind. In fact, it probably is. It's probably the last, the least necessary place where improvements are needed. That said, I would have expected the Mets to make a move for an outfielder, for a starting pitcher, for a left-handed reliever, and they did sign Luis Avilan yesterday to a minor league deal. He's a left-handed reliever, but still, that's where I'm thinking the Mets were going to be targeting their attention. And bringing in Lowrie, surprisingly, surprised everybody. Me for sure, in a good way, and all the beat writers seem to be pretty surprised too. So for all the guys that said the Mets don't have any more money to spend and they won't be doing anything else this offseason, choke on that, pals, because you don't know shit. So why do I like this trade, this signing rather? Earlier this week, Andy Martino wrote a piece. I don't want to say it was defending the weekend of the weekend flurry of moves, bringing in Keon Broxton and J.D. Davis and a few other players and trading away some minor league pieces in the process. But what he wrote, what Martino wrote, and what I agree with 1,000,000%, was he sort of said, look, earlier this offseason, really early actually, like first couple of days on the job for Brodie, he made a statement, Van Wagenen did, that we want to try to eliminate the ifs and be a little bit more certain about things. And that's the way I'm evaluating these signings. In 2018, how many times did we have to watch a well past his prime Jose Reyes start games at shortstop and third base? How many times did we have to watch Jack Reinheimer? No disrespect to Jack Reinheimer, but how many times do we have to watch no-name minor leaguers? I'll take his name out of it. Too many times. And it's because the depth just wasn't there to sustain injuries anywhere. And I've talked about this team being deeper in the past. I think this team is now unbelievably deep. You now have 2 super utility type players on your bench in Jeff McNeil and Jed Lowrie, and I'll get to McNeil in a second because that's the only concern I have about this signing, but I'll get there in a second. But you have these 2 super utility guys who can play second, third, first, Lowrie can play shortstop, which is another reason why I think he was such a valuable acquisition. And McNeil, they say, can play the outfield. So these are versatile pieces that are on the bench that aren't going to cost you what a Marwin Gonzalez would cost. Now, you could argue that Marwin Gonzalez is a better player, has more positional versatility than Jed Lowrie does, and you'd be right because Marwin plays the outfield. But I don't know. I'm really happy about Jed Lowrie coming in. Look at his numbers from last year. He had a really good season. He fell off a little bit in the second half, but I think his WAR was something like 4.8. That's really good. I mean, that's really good. That's a 4.8 WAR. That's almost 5 wins that player brings you. That's a good signing. And he's not even being signed to start. Although they say he's going to be an everyday player and he'll play all over the diamond, he's not been brought in to be a starting player. That, to me, speaks volumes for what Brodie Van Wagenen is willing to do. And let's give some credit here, what the Wilpons have allowed Brodie Van Wagenen to do. Because the general manager can only ask for the money. Mom and dad can say, no, son, you can't have the money. And that's the end of it. But the Wilpons said, go ahead, do it. You know, where are all of the critics that are out there bitching about Fred and Jeff and Saul? Don't want to forget about Saul. They're spending money. You can't have it both ways. You can't be pissed when they don't and then complain about it. And then once they do, you can't be completely silent. You got to be able to call yourself out and say, boy, I was wrong. It isn't the same old Wilpons. This is them spending money again. And that's what this is. There's no way of getting around it. Now, I mentioned Jeff McNeil a second ago, and he's the only thing I'm concerned about with bringing in Jed Lowrie. Paying a guy $10 million a year, and this is where I will criticize the Wilpons, whether it's from them or from elsewhere, but it's always sort of been a mandate that, at least it seemed on the surface, that playing time typically tied itself to the amount of money the player is being paid. And that's so wrong, but it does seem like that's been the case for the Mets for quite some time now, where you'd see guys like Chris Young, who was paid handsomely to be an awful outfielder, get a lot of playing time a few years back when he had no business getting playing time. And it's just an odd, it's always been an odd thing. And again, that's my concern about Lowrie coming in, because making $10 million a year over the next 2 seasons, what is that going to mean for Jeff McNeil? And does that mean that Jeff McNeil is bumped further down on the proverbial depth chart? I think the answer is, of course, yes, because, look, Jed Lowrie was an all-star last year. Right? I mean, he's a good player, and I love McNeil. I love what he did for the half a season that he was on the team last year, but he is an unknown. We do not know how he's going to return and if he's going to return to form. Now, I happen to think that he's going to, just from the way he swings and the type of player he seems to be. He doesn't seem to be power hungry. He has a nice level swing. He uses the field, all fields. So I think he's the kind of player that will transition nicely into a full career as an offensive player. But with Lowrie in front of him, I wonder how much playing time McNeil's going to lose. And that's my only concern. Now, that being said, at the end of the day, it's about the team being better. And evaluating a trade, looking at how a trade affects a player is not the smart way to evaluate a trade. You have to look at the trade and say, does this trade, is the team better, or a signing or an acquisition, does this trade make the team better than they were the day before it was made? And there's no way to get around it. Jed Lowrie makes the Mets better than they were before Jed Lowrie was on the team. And that's the way you have to evaluate a trade. There's a lot of insurance now available for guys to go on the DL, where we will not have to see B team and C team prospects, minor league journeymen, veteran older players who are well past their prime. Sorry, Reyes, but you are. That's what this signing means, and to me, it's exactly how a winning team builds its roster. And so I'm thrilled to see this happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Brodie does next, because guess what? He's not done. I don't care what anybody says. He's not done. He's going to do more, and we're going to watch and see. One final thought. Yesterday, I almost recorded a video, but I didn't think I'd be able to stretch it out, and I have like 30 seconds. I just want to mention how pissed off must Yasmani Grandal be about not taking the Mets' 4-year, $60 million offer. Instead of getting 4 years guaranteed at $60 million, he's settled on a 1-year deal with the Brewers. Now he's going to make almost $19 million next year, but after that, you know, he's left $21 million on the table, hoping that he can have a good enough season to bounce back and be a free agent again and get that same 4-year, $60 million offer that he got from the Mets and rejected. So, good luck, Yasmani. Hope your defense improves in the playoffs, because I suspect the Brewers will be back, and they'll be counting on you to be a better backstop in 2019 playoffs than you were in 2018 ones. That'll do it for today and for this week. I thank you for watching. I appreciate it, as I always do. If you aren't already doing so, follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met, MISTER_MET. And as always, let's go Mets.